1989 was particularly painful. So in 1989, because they had that terrible 88 season, like I said, they played themselves out of the top 5, but they still had the 7th overall pick. And they drafted a running back out of Georgia named Tim Worley. And Tim Worley's nickname in the NFL was Whoops Worley because he couldn't hang on to the ball. He lost 16 fumbles over his 3 seasons with the Steelers. And then in 1992, he was suspended for the entire season due to a failed drug test.
Isn't that the one that Merrill Hodge told that story about? Yeah, it was Worley and him, I guess, in the backfield in the Bubster at quarterback. And I guess Worley's in the huddle and Bubby has to tell him to play like 3 or 4 times. And so finally they line up and Worley still doesn't know the play. And he's like, what's it on? What's it on? And he literally to the whole defense and everything, Bubby turns around and goes, it's on too. So,
wow.
A professional. Tim Worley was definitely a professional there.
7th overall pick in a draft that produced 4 Hall of Famers in the top 5, and they drafted Tim Worley. That hurts. To this day, that hurts. And then the other thing about that year, so not only did they have the 7th overall pick, but they had the 24th overall pick. One of the rare times ever that the Steelers had 2 first-round picks. This is because Mike Merriweather, who is, again, one of their only good players at the time, decided he wanted more money. Again, this was before the era of free agency. And he said, I want more money. The Steelers said no. And he said, fine, I'm not going to play. So he actually sat out the entire 88 season. And then the Steelers finally gave in and they traded him. Traded him to Minnesota. Steve, you mentioned the Herschel Walker thing. This was the era where Minnesota decided we're gonna go all in. We're gonna win now. We're gonna trade all of our draft picks, most of them to Dallas, but they had one left over for the Steelers for Mike Merriweather. Did not work out so well for Minnesota. Also didn't work out so well for the Steelers because with that pick, they drafted a tackle, Tom Ricketts, who wasn't very good. And the thing that hurt about that not only was, we basically traded Mike Merriweather for an offensive lineman that stunk. Tom Ricketts went to Pitt. And I remember every year going back to Dan Marino, because I loved Pitt and I always wanted them to draft Pitt players, and they never drafted Pitt players.
Except for the terrible ones.
Yeah. So now they draft Tom Ricketts. He stinks, and I'm like, now they're never going to draft a Pitt player again. So that really hurt, having 2 first-round picks, and they were both monumental busts.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes at the link in the description, or catch us wherever you listen to your podcasts.